time was 11:43 p.m. The city of Ouagadougou was quiet, with most citizens asleep, unaware of the storm that was about to be stirred. Inside the presidential residence, President Ibrahim Traoré sat at his desk, reviewing late-night documents. His eyes were tired, but his mind remained alert. He had just signed a proposal for a new school project in the northern provinces when his secure phone rang. Traoré picked up the call instantly. "Yes, this is the president." There was silence on the other end. Then came a trembling voice, clearly afraid but determined to speak. "Please, Mr. President, I know this line is dangerous, but I had no choice." "Who are you?" Traoré asked, leaning forward. "I can't say my name, but I beg you, listen. There are over 200 children, yes, children, trapped in a secret illegal gold mine, somewhere deep in the eastern region near Compiègne." The voice cracked. "They are starving, working with bare hands, treated like animals. Some are as young as 5. President Traoré's expression hardened. "Where exactly?" he asked quickly. The voice continued. "Follow the old logging road past the abandoned timber factory. There's a path that leads into the forest. No one goes there anymore. Please, you are the only one who can stop this." The line cut. The call ended. For a moment, the president sat still. Then he stood up quickly and pressed a button on his desk. "Call General Ayuba. Call Commander Idris. We are moving tonight," he ordered. His voice was filled with anger, not just as a leader, but as a father. 20 minutes later, the presidential convoy was ready. Black jeeps, armed security trucks, and 2 ambulances stood by. Traoré emerged, dressed in military fatigue, his eyes sharp and serious. "Where are we going, sir?" General Ayuba asked. Traoré explained briefly. "An anonymous caller has just informed me that 200 children are being held in a hidden gold mine. We must find them." Commander Idris frowned. "If this is true, then someone is making money off their suffering." "Yes," Traoré said, "and tonight that ends." They moved swiftly through the quiet roads, lights off, guided only by moonlight and a strong sense of purpose. As they left the city behind, the air changed. Trees grew thicker. The roads became dusty and narrow. They passed through remote villages, most people asleep in mud huts. By 2:10 a.m., they reached the old timber factory the caller mentioned. It had long been abandoned, its roofs falling apart. Behind it, a hidden path led into the dense bush. "This must be it," Traoré said. He stepped out of his jeep and began walking. His men followed behind silently. With only torchlights to guide them, the group moved through the thick forest. The sounds of crickets and frogs filled the air. After almost an hour of walking, they began to hear faint metallic sounds, clinking, scraping. Traoré raised a hand. "Everyone stay low." They crawled forward carefully, and then they saw it. Deep inside a natural hollow surrounded by rocky hills was a wide-open illegal gold mining site. The area was poorly lit with scattered floodlights, powered by small generators. Men with guns walked around lazily, unaware of the approaching danger. But what struck the president the most was not the guards. It was the children. Some were waist-deep in muddy pits, digging with small, rusted tools. Others were carrying heavy bags of sand, their faces covered in dust. None of them had shoes. Many wore torn clothes. Their stomachs were bloated from hunger, and their eyes were hollow. A boy collapsed while carrying a bucket of dirty water. No one helped him. One of the guards shouted and kicked him to stand, but the boy couldn't move. Traoré felt his chest tighten. He clenched his fist. "Commander," he said quietly, "move in." No noise, no mercy. In seconds, the president's men spread out. Like shadows, they surrounded the mine. At exactly 3:42 a.m., Commander Idris gave the signal. "Go!" A loud bang echoed through the night as smoke grenades exploded. The guards panicked and ran, only to find themselves surrounded. Shots were fired into the air. Within 3 minutes, the entire place was secured. All armed men had been arrested. The children, scared and confused, dropped their tools and huddled together. Many thought it was another group of dangerous men. "Don't hurt us," a small girl cried. But then Traoré walked into the clearing, slowly. He raised his voice gently. "My name is Ibrahim Traoré. I am your president, and today I have come to take you home." The children froze. Some blinked, unsure if it was a dream. Others began to cry. One boy asked, "Are you really the president?" Traore nodded. "Yes, and you are free now." A boy who looked about 7 years old fell to his knees and started weeping. "They told us we would be unalived here, that no one cared." Traore went to him and knelt. "They lied. I care. And you will not die. You will live. You will be great." More children began to collapse. Some fainted from exhaustion. The president immediately called for the medical team. "Start feeding them slowly," he instructed, "and get the weak ones into the ambulances." Hot food, water, and blankets were shared. The doctors began treating wounds, checking fevers, and giving rehydration drinks. Some of the children had infections. Others had wounds untreated for weeks. A girl's hand was bleeding. A boy's back was covered with whip marks. One little girl held Traore's hand tightly and whispered, "Please don't leave us here." "I won't," he said. "I promise." At dawn, the sun rose over the illegal mine, but instead of gold, it now shone on hope. Traore looked around. His voice was heavy with emotion. "These children are the soul of our country. Look at what greed has done to them." He turned to his men. "We will not rest until we find every wicked person behind this. Let's work together. Let's fight for justice." The soldiers saluted. "Yes, Mr. President." By 7 a.m., the children were all moved to the convoy. The mine was sealed. Evidence was collected. Drones flew above, taking pictures of the entire operation. As they drove away, many children slept for the first time in peace. Others stared at Traore as if he were a miracle, and in many ways he was, because that night a president didn't wait for reports or investigations. He heard the cry of his people and came down himself, and the mission had just begun. It had been 1 week since the heroic rescue of over 200 children from the illegal gold mine. President Ibrahim Traoré had personally led the operation, saved the children, and moved them to a safe, well-guarded temporary shelter in Ouagadougou. Doctors were treating the weak ones. Counselors were speaking to the traumatized. Clean clothes, hot meals, and proper beds were provided. The children had even begun smiling again. But unknown to the president, danger still lurked in the shadows. The criminals behind the illegal gold operation had not yet been caught. They were wealthy, powerful men with deep connections, and they were angry. The rescue mission had destroyed their operation and exposed their secrets. They had lost money, slaves, and most of their guards had been arrested. But now they wanted revenge, not through violence, but through lies. 2 days later, unknown to the presidential guards, some of the bad men disguised themselves as reporters from an international media station. They arrived at the rescue center in 2 white vans with the logo of a fake humanitarian group. They brought sweets, toys, and cameras. The guards at the shelter were meant to refuse them, but some had already been bribed. One guard, who was responsible for security on the east gate, took the money quietly and whispered, "You have 30 minutes. Make it quick." Inside the shelter, the men met with some of the children. They spoke softly, kindly, pretending to be helpers. "We are here to protect you," they said, "but the truth is, you are still in danger." The children looked confused. One boy asked, "What do you mean?" The man replied, "That man who rescued you, he is not your president. He is the boss of another gold mine. He used soldiers to take you from one mine to another. This place is not safe." The children were silent. "But he told us his name. He said he is President Ibrahim Traoré," one girl said. The fake reporter shook his head. "He lied. The real president would be too busy to come to the bush himself. You are just being used." Then they asked the children to speak on camera. "Say how you are still being forced to work. Say the man who took you is still using you." The children hesitated, but the fake journalist promised, "If you do this, the world will see your pain. They will come and take you to a better place, maybe even to Europe. Don't you want to be free?" Out of fear and confusion, the children agreed. One after another, they cried on camera. "The man who said he rescued us is using us," a boy sobbed. "He is not our president. He is a bad man. Please help us." Another girl said, "He brought us here to work again. They said we are safe, but we are not. The world must save us." The fake journalists packed their cameras and left quickly. Within hours, the video was uploaded to several fake news websites and social media pages. The caption read, "Burkina Faso's president exposed. Children claim he's using them for illegal gold mining." Within 24 hours, the video had gone viral. International media outlets picked it up. Twitter and Facebook were flooded with angry comments. "I said it. That man is no different from the others. How can a president lie to children? This is evil. He's stealing our gold to enrich his family." People were talking. Some believed the story, others didn't. Inside the presidential palace, President Traore sat silently watching the video, his hands clenched into fists. His face was filled with pain and confusion. "What is this?" he asked his security advisor. "Who allowed a camera crew into the shelter?" The advisor looked down. "We're still investigating, sir. Some guards may have been bribed." The president's voice shook with anger. "You mean to tell me someone entered a government facility, lied to rescue children, filmed them, and posted it to the world, and no one stopped them?" The room was silent. President Traore stood up. "This is worse than any bullet. This is a bullet of lies. These people have brainwashed my children." He looked at the screen again. "These are the same children I knelt before. I held their hands. I fed them. And now they think I'm the enemy?" He turned to his men. "Number, this cannot continue. We must act fast. We must act now, before the whole world turns against us." He called a national emergency meeting that night. All top security officials, intelligence leaders, and child protection officers were summoned. "They want to destroy my name. They want to destroy this country's hope. But we will not let them win," he said. He then gave strict orders. Investigate the fake journalists, find the bribed guards, tighten security around the children, and most importantly, trace the source of the video. Meanwhile, in the city, people were divided. Some marched on the streets demanding answers. Others gathered in support of Traore, saying they believed in him, but the damage was spreading fast. International news houses began requesting interviews. Foreign organizations started asking questions. The country was now under a cloud of confusion. Who was telling the truth? Back at the rescue center, President Traore decided to visit the children himself again, but this time secretly. He arrived without cameras, without guards, without protocol. Just him and a trusted nurse. When the children saw him, they froze. Some were scared, some stepped back. One girl whispered, "You came back?" Traore looked around slowly. "Yes, I came because I heard you were in pain again, but I'm not angry. I just want the truth." He knelt down again before them. "Do you remember the night I found you? The night you were cold, hungry, and scared?" The children nodded. "Do you remember I said, you are the future of this nation?" They nodded again. "Then please," he said gently, "if someone came and told you lies about me, I want you to tell me. I can take it. Just tell me the truth." One small boy stepped forward. "A man said you are not the president. He said you just took us from one gold mine to another." Traore closed his eyes, breathed deeply. "And did you believe him?" The boy looked down. "We didn't know what to believe. They said if we said it on camera, the world would come and rescue us." Another girl added, "They gave us sweets and promised we'd be free forever." Traore stood up. "My children, listen to me. I am your president. I came that night because I love this nation and I love you. You are not tools. You are not slaves. You are my responsibility. And no matter what the world says, I will protect you." The children started to cry again, but this time it was from guilt and confusion. One of the older boys walked up to him. "We're sorry. We didn't know. We thought we were doing the right thing." Traore placed his hand on the boy's shoulder. "I forgive you, but now we must all work together to correct the lies." That night, a plan was made. A truth campaign would begin. Real journalists would be invited under proper security. The real story would be told by the president, by the children, and by those who were there. But time was ticking. The enemies were still out there, watching, waiting, plotting, and President Traore knew. The next move had to be bold. It had to be fast, and it had to be loud. 3 days had passed since the fake video spread across the world. People were still divided. Some called for international investigations. Others sent threats to the Burkina Faso government. But while confusion and doubt filled the air, President Ibrahim Traoré remained focused. He knew that if he didn't act quickly, the trust of the people, both at home and abroad, would be completely destroyed. The children were still being treated at the safe center, but now they were surrounded by new layers of security. Trusted soldiers had replaced the bribe guards. Every visitor was carefully checked. No one could speak to the children without permission. Inside the palace, President Traoré met again with his inner circle. His eyes were tired, but his voice was sharp. We cannot sit and watch while our name is dragged in the mud. We must tell our side of the story, and we must do it now. General Ayuba agreed. Sir, the people need to hear from the children again, but this time, the truth must be protected. The president nodded. We'll organize a press conference, but not the usual one. It must be raw, unedited. The children will speak freely in their own words. Let the world hear what truly happened that night. A media team was gathered, this time made up of trusted local and international journalists with strong reputations. They were properly vetted and invited under full presidential control. The day of the press event arrived. Cameras were set up inside a clean, simple hall at the rescue center. There were no decorations, no fancy lights, just seats, microphones, and truth. The children, now properly dressed, looked healthier than before. Some still had scars, but there was light in their eyes. President Traoré stood at the back, watching silently. The first child to speak was 10-year-old Jonathan. He walked slowly to the microphone, looked at the cameras, and began. The night the soldiers came, I thought it was the end. I thought they came to beat us like the others. But then, this man, he pointed at Traoré, he came and said, "You are free now." I didn't believe him at first, but when they gave us food, treated our wounds, and told us we'd never work in the pit again, I knew it was real. He paused. When some men came last week with cameras, they lied to us. They said the man who rescued us was bad. We didn't know what to believe. We were scared. I want to say I'm sorry. And I want the world to know, this man is our president. He saved us. One by one, the children came forward. Some cried as they spoke. Others held hands for courage. They talked about the pain in the mines, the beatings, the hunger. They explained how they were tricked into speaking lies. They told the world how their lives changed after the rescue. The room was silent. The cameras kept rolling. Finally, President Traoré stepped forward. The hall fell completely quiet. He looked at the children, then at the reporters. I did not come here to defend myself, he began. I came to defend the truth. He continued. These children were slaves, hidden in the bush, treated like animals, robbed of their childhood. I led the rescue because I believe that no child should be buried in dust and darkness while we live in comfort. He looked around. I do not need to steal gold. I do not need to use children. My wealth is not in gold. It is in the future of this nation, and they are that future. He pointed to the children behind him. He raised his voice. Those who created fake news, those who bribed guards and lied to the world, know this. We are coming for you. Not with hate, but with justice. The entire hall stood up in applause. The children rushed to him, hugging him tightly. The video went live immediately. In less than 2 hours, it reached millions. Across the world, people who once doubted began to believe again. Famous human rights groups released statements supporting the president. International leaders called to commend him. The lies had started to break. But President Traoré was not done. The next day, he launched what he called Operation Gold Truth, a powerful investigation into all illegal mining activities in the country. Secret agents were deployed. Names of suspicious businessmen were compiled. Border checkpoints were activated. Bribed guards were arrested one by one. In a town near the old mine site, a hidden house was raided. Inside, the documents revealed shocking truth. Lists of children bought, payments made, and evidence of bribes. One man, a former government contractor, was caught trying to escape the country. He confessed everything. I was only following orders, he said. They paid me to stay quiet. The president ordered all properties linked to the criminals to be seized. Banks were frozen. Every account used in the child trafficking ring was shut down. But the fight wasn't just physical. It was a war of truth. The president ordered a nationwide school tour. He would go from one school to another, speaking to students about what had happened, teaching them how to protect each other, and warning them never to trust strangers promising fake jobs. In one school, a student stood and asked, "Mr. President, why didn't they believe you at first?" The president smiled sadly. "Because the truth is often slow, but it is always stronger in the end." As the days passed, people began to rally behind him again. The same people who shouted in anger were now clapping in admiration. A woman in the market said to a journalist, "We almost lost faith, but that man didn't run. He stood strong for those children. That's a real leader." Back at the shelter, the children were given something new: school uniforms. The president announced a scholarship for every one of them. "You will not only survive, you will succeed," he told them. Plans were also made to build a special school called Maison de Lumière, House of Light, just for rescued children, where they would be trained, educated, and protected. But President Traoré knew the battle was not over. Evil always finds new ways to hide, and the men behind the mines still had influence. He called another meeting. "We've exposed their lies. We've healed the children. Now it's time to finish this." His next step? A national broadcast to name the people behind the syndicate. But before he could announce it, he received a letter. No name, no signature, just a sentence. "If you speak again, the next child to disappear will be on your head." The room went silent. President Traoré held the letter, looked at his team, and said, "Let them try. I will not back down." And with that, the fire in him burned even brighter. 2 days after President Ibrahim Traoré received the threat letter, the air in the palace became tense. Security was doubled around the rescue shelter, schools, and every child under the president's care. His top advisors begged him to stay quiet for a while. "Sir, let's just wait. Let things calm down," one of them said. But President Traoré looked them in the eye and said firmly, "No. If I stay quiet, they win. And I refuse to be silent while children are still in danger." He held the letter in his hand, read the words again. "If you speak again, the next child to disappear will be on your head." He closed his eyes for a second, then whispered, "Allah is watching you." What the evil men didn't know was that one of their own was growing tired. A man named Roland, once a trusted partner in their wicked gold business, had started feeling guilty. He had seen the children's tears. He had watched how Traoré saved them, and he had a little daughter of his own. Every time he looked at her, he remembered the pain in those children's eyes. That night, Roland made a decision. He quietly left his house and drove out of town. He arrived at a secret military base and asked to see the president's special team. "I have something to say," he told the guards, "but you must protect me. My life is in danger." Within an hour, he was brought into a small room. Commander Idris entered and stared at him. "Who are you?" "My name is Roland. I used to work with the man who sent that threat letter." The room froze. Roland continued, "I know everything. His name, his face, where he lives, and where he hides his documents." The next morning, President Traoré was informed. He ordered that the confession be recorded, and then with a heavy heart, he listened to the shocking truth. The mastermind behind the fake news, the illegal mine, and the threat letter was a man named Martin Douamba, a wealthy businessman with companies across Africa. He had made his fortune through dirty gold, child labor, and lies, and now he was trying to destroy the one man who stood in his way. "Where is he now?" the president asked. Roland replied, "He's hiding in a private estate near the border. He has armed men with him, but if you move fast, you'll catch him." Without wasting time, President Traoré ordered a special operation. "Move now. No noise, no mercy." That evening, a team of soldiers stormed Martin's hideout. It was quick. It was clean. He was caught trying to burn documents. When he saw the soldiers, he laughed. "So the little president sent you?" They said nothing. They handcuffed him and drove him straight to the capital. The next morning, the whole country watched as Martin Douamba was led in chains to court. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. The children at the shelter saw the news and clapped. "That's the man who lied to us," one girl said. The trial was swift. The evidence was strong. Documents, bank records, video messages, and Roland's full confession were all presented. Martin was found guilty of child trafficking, illegal mining, spreading false news, threatening the life of a president, and abuse of human rights. The judge looked at him and said, You destroyed lives for money. You used lies to cover your wickedness. But justice has caught up with you. Martin was sentenced to life imprisonment with no chance of early release. As the gavel struck, people across the country cheered. Crowds danced in the streets. Social media was filled with messages like, "Justice has won. We thank President Traore for standing strong. The children are safe. The truth has been restored." Later that evening, President Traore addressed the nation in a powerful speech. "My fellow citizens, we have seen evil. We have felt fear, but we stood together. And today, justice has spoken. Let this be a message to all who harm children, lie to the world, and abuse their power. Your days are numbered." He paused. "These children are not tools. They are not workers. They are not slaves. They are the heart of our nation. And as long as I live, I will protect them." The camera panned to the children watching live. Some were crying, others were smiling. The next day, school began at the newly built Maison de Lumière, the special school for the rescued children.